that I think would be most likely in that scoring rubric based on what's available on their own website. So I'll break it down with just a couple words on each one. First, they're looking at candidates who are seeking a transformative experience. If we think about this at a higher level from the school's strategic interest, the school wants alumni that will be engaged, connected, supportive, frankly, donating money to the school. And if the student completes their education at Harvard and they feel like, well, they got the brand name, but the experience wasn't really that important or transformative, then that won't be an engaged alumnus afterwards. So having a student that really believes that business school and that Harvard particularly will create an experience that somehow gives them different abilities and skills and values from where they began, then I think that's going to be something that's really important to the school. So keep in mind as you consider your application process, how the school fits into your life and how you communicate that is as important as how you, what you have accomplished before and what you can bring to the school. Now, the second three elements more are things that you as an applicant or as a prospective student have in your control to accomplish in the years leading up to business school and then to communicate to the admissions committee. First one is the habit of leadership. When you're considering your accomplishments professionally in your companies where you're working before you apply to business school and in your extracurriculars in college, think about the personal impact that you've had and your ability to influence groups to achieve constructive outcomes. That's what they mean by leadership, and they'd like to see that demonstrated over time in a different variety of settings. This is why it's called a habit of leadership. The next element is analytical aptitude and appetite. They do want top minds from a variety of different fields. They use quantitative test results for this, but also your undergraduate grades and how you communicate the accomplishments that you've had can communicate this analytical aptitude and appetite. And then the final piece is engaged community citizenship. Now, a couple things to think about with the engaged community citizenship. I think, first of all, they want people that will be active citizens in the community, that will be graduates who will make positive contributions reflecting well on the school and, again, building that longer strategic goal of Harvard Business School to have worldwide influence and to be contributing to leadership in many different venues. But when we think about community, we also think about the community at the business school. So the school is trying to create a community where if you become a student at Harvard Business School, you will contribute to the learning of your classmates, and all of your classmates will contribute to your learning. So the school is looking to find people with different backgrounds, different industries, different nationalities, exposure to different to many different elements that will bring together a diversity of experience that will help everyone learn from each other. So that is something also to consider in how you're positioning yourself as you put together your application and go through the process. So I wanted to just go to that general resource that's available to everyone, and if you're interested, as I imagine you are, if you're on this webinar, to admission to Harvard Business School, a resource that you should be consulting, and hopefully many of you already have, but to give a little bit of color commentary. So that's really the overview that I wanted to give at this point. You know a little bit about me and some just general perspectives about what the school is looking for and how you can position yourselves to be successful. I'd like to invite people to send questions in. If you have any particular questions, I'd like to respond to them. Okay, I see one here from Kimberly Howell. What level of quant courses are recommended required for HBS undergraduate applicants? And so, Kimberly, just to be clear, that the Harvard Business School doesn't have any undergraduates. It's a postgraduate business program. But if you mean for you as an undergraduate, what courses you should be taking to prepare yourself, I do think that calculus and statistics would be recommended for a student in college to take. I don't know how closely the school scrutinizes that. I don't think it weighs very heavily. The GMAT, Graduate Management Aptitude Test, will be the thing that they use as their rubric to test your quantitative ability, I think, more than which courses you took in college. How critical is the undergraduate GPA for admission? From Andarina from India. How critical is the undergraduate GPA for admission? I do think that undergraduate GPA, the caliber of the program that you took in undergraduate is pretty important and weighs heavily. Most students probably have something above 3.5, but I think below 3.0 it would be very much a minority in the class. And Jim Monson asks, any general feedback on the new essay format? Jim, I'm afraid I graduated from HBS in 2007, and so while I have attended my class reunion and I've stayed in touch with students as they've done some mock interviews with Vonnie's interview-based program, I can't speak to the new format. I'm not as familiar with it. For HBS 2+2, how many seats are offered? From AJ, I don't have a direct answer to the question. I'm as to the previous question, I don't work with HBS. I'm only an alumni that's about 5 years out from the school right now, but I do know that HBS prioritizes professional experience, and so the 2+2 program of getting that in and setting on an admissions decision early, I think makes a lot of sense for the school and the student. Nima Nagula, how important is community service for an HBS applicant? I think it's pretty important. It was one of the key criteria that we discussed at the beginning of the session, and so I think service is important for applicants. Rajat G. from Bangalore asks, will a master's degree in a similar field of current work domain help? I think anything that can show distinctiveness would be useful. However, I would not recommend getting a master's degree only to assist your HBS application. If the master's degree helps you achieve greater results in your field, in your current work, if you believe that the program that you're attending is a distinctive program that that shows that you are that 1 in 1,000 type of person, then I would suggest pursuing it. Is the GMAT score inversely proportional to the number of years of experience, usually? From Prashant. That's a funny question. I don't think so. You will have to take time if you're a professional away from university to study for the GMAT, but I think the average student at HBS has 3 or 4 years of professional experience, and the GMAT scores are usually pretty good. There's just a very, very small fraction of the class that's coming straight out of undergraduate, so take the time to do some prep classes, and I think you'll be able to score well on the GMAT, even having been outside of university for some time. Knowing that diversity is important, how important is pre-MBA domain of job? Well, and this is from Adwait Gore from Bangalore. So diversity involves setting a composition for the class. So you have the ability to establish your pre-MBA domain of job, and investment banking, financial services, consulting are very common fields to go into. And so the MBA class will be largely composed of those fields, and most applicants will come from those fields. If you have something unique and you can position that you would be able to become a unique citizen in the HBS community, then I think it would be helpful. Options for financing the MBA at HBS from Karthik Varma in India. So for financing your MBA, most students have some sort of student loans. The school also offers scholarships, and I would also look for private scholarships. And some companies will offer some types of deals. You know, going back to the question about the pre-MBA domain, consulting is a great field for that, where if you can work for a few years in a top-tier consulting company, many of them will offer to pay for your MBA on the condition that you return to them. How important is the GMAT score in the overall application process? So the GMAT is fairly important. It's one of the key elements that's looked at. I think that there's a range that would be more important. So if your GMAT score is much lower than the class average, then that would create more of a risk for you. However, if you have the maximum GMAT score, that would not guarantee admission. And so I have another question from James Kristen about financial assistance. Yes, the school offers financial assistance, and I discussed some different options already. If there's one thing that I could change in the school, what would it be? That's an interesting question. Akhilesh Sharma from Hyderabad. What would I change about the school? Well, I would say that one of the things that I've noticed about a lot of students is that the classes don't tend to be as academic because of the case study method as what I would have expected and what I've experienced in other graduate schools. And so I would say that's the thing that I would focus on, of driving more academic rigor, maybe the use of statistical analysis in some of the research work or the case studies that students are doing. I think that would be the one thing I would change. That's a personal preference to understand why the students or the school is designed as it is. It's really focused towards practical and leadership experience. Jim Monson asks, as a fellow veteran, how did you find the support to veterans at the school? I think the school, Jim, values military experience. It certainly is one of those diversity, such as for many of you that are from different countries, international background, military experience, those types of things are fairly unique, I think, in the pool of applicants, and they're valued well. There's also clubs, military alumni association. There's a lot of active duty officers that are going to be professors at service academies, and I guess for the many of you that are on the line from different countries, many international clubs as well. Can I summarize the day of an HBS student? There's a 2-year program, so in your first year, the classes are all set. In your second year, the classes are all elective. You'll take generally about 3 or so courses each day, and the schedule varies every other day. So starting around 8:30 in the morning, usually ending at 3:30 with time off in between. There are different club and extracurricular activities, lectures, and events to go to in the afternoon and the evening, studying for the next day, and Often students are preparing for summer interviews or for full-time jobs, so practicing interviews and going to interviews are a big part of the afternoon and evenings. And then in the evenings, many social events from clubs or student groups, as well as sponsored by companies that are recruiting on the school. Is it good to join a tour and travel company after MBA in marketing? So marketing in the travel and hospitality industry is a critical field. I think the MBA prepares you well for that. So I believe that that's a very reasonable career path to go on, and the MBA would prepare you well. That's from Paramveer in India. Prakar Goyal, does having a financial qualification like a CFA or FRM help the applicant if working in the engineering or another technical industry? Prakar, I would not think so. If you are in a non-financial industry, I would not see the benefit of a CFA to an MBA application. I could be wrong about that. I'm open to the possibility of being wrong, but I think what the school is looking for is distinctiveness in your own field. So if you're working in engineering, I would imagine a PE, a professional engineer license or something like that would be more valuable than a CFA. The school is looking for you to be distinctive and to bring out a diverse student body each year in the class. So I don't think a financial qualification, if you're not in the financial industry, would be a differentiator for you. Does the round in which you apply at HBS matter? I don't think that it matters which round that you apply. I would recommend, though, round 1 and round 2, so maybe I'm contradicting my own answer here. The earlier rounds will get you looked at sooner. Remember, they're building out a class. As I said, they're trying to create this composition that creates a learning experience for everyone else. So the sooner the better. And okay, Bonnie has reminded me I need to share the camera with the camera icon at the top. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm working on this webcam, folks. Just give me a minute. The computer is frozen up here, and I can't read any of the other questions now. Bonnie, while we're waiting for this webcam to work, maybe you could read the next question and I could respond.
Matt, can you share the, hello? Hello?
Hello, Bonnie.
Yeah, 1 minute. What is the normal range on the GMAT score, and how would a score of 670 sound? By Harish from Bangalore.
So I think the normal expectation is the GMATs would be in the 700s, maybe the high 600s. If it's much lower than that, then I would say to the low 600s or below, it would be on the low end if we imagined a tail of a normal distribution. And so you can take the GMAT again, and I certainly would recommend taking practice exams, preparatory courses, anything that will prepare you to do the best that you can.
Okay, the next question is civil engineer plus mobile development plus web a good combo? By AJ.
Okay, I'm sorry, Bonnie, can you say that again?
It's development by HBS.
All right. Bonnie, I can't hear your question, so I'm just going to start. I'm back on here. The web is working. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm just going to start reading again here. So,
yeah,
here,
that's
I think
fine.
I found the one you asked from AJ. Is civil engineering plus mobile development a good combo? Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Bring something unique where you will have an engineering background, which I always think is something that brings a lot of value, whether it's to a business, whether it's to a school, or for actually working in a professional field. And then mobile development is at the cutting edge of what's happening right now. It's important for a lot of companies, so it's a great combo. Does HBS help facilitate internship opportunities between year 1 and year 2? From Jessica R. If so, can you give some examples of where students have interned? So absolutely, there's a career services company at HBS. It is very focused on helping place students. That's a priority of the school, and the summer internship is an important part of the learning experience at HBS. There's a heavy composition of financial services companies, largely investment banks, but also private equity shops, hedge funds that recruit on campus for these internships. There's also management consultants such as McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, Bain, Deloitte, Accenture. They recruit on campus and they place a lot of students. And then many companies that actually sell things to people or provide services to people, such as Pepsi, General Electric, Starwood Hotels, all of those provide internship opportunities as well. And in many cases, students that are interested in doing something more unique, something in the public service or government sectors, will also find internship opportunities on their own. What is the flagship program of HBS? So HBS provides an MBA program, which I think is what all of us are talking about here. I would say that's the flagship. In addition, there's a doctoral program, a DBA, the Doctorate of Business Administration, as well as executive education courses that are given in shorter term than the 2-year MBA. How well am I connected with the current student and in general along with the class of 2014? I am not connected at all with 2014 unless I met them through Interview Bay, thanks to Vani. And I should say I recommended a student who's about to join the program now for, I guess that would be class of 2015, but he ended up going to Kellogg Business School instead of HBS. What is more helpful, recommendation from current managers or a senior leader from the organization? In this case, I would recommend from your current manager rather than the senior leader, unless the senior leader knows you well. If he's had firsthand connection with you, maybe for a special project or for some sort of work like that. Otherwise, I would say the current manager who directly supervises your work day to day and can speak more knowledgeably is probably the better source of recommendation. That's how I did it. I am a B.Tech student in mechanical engineering. Our institute provides conversion of B.Tech to 5-year B.Tech MBA program. Will doing that increase or decrease my chances for HBS? I would not say it would materially increase your chances to get an MBA at another school or for this B.Tech MBA program, unless, and this question is from Niraj from India, unless, Niraj, you think it would help your career chances to be able to get some more professional accomplishments, that weighs heavily in the MBA program. So if you believe that the joint B.Tech MBA program will lead you to a more distinctive career path, allowing you to demonstrate leadership and to build some good professional experience, then I would say do it. If only getting the MBA credential, I don't think it would be worthwhile. As a career changer, how specific should my career plans be? This is from Jim Monson. So if you are switching careers, I don't think it's necessary for you to have a specific industry picked out. In this particular from Jim, I understand going from government or military work into the private sector. I don't think that I knew which industry that I was going to, and I think that's part of, if we go way back to the beginning of this webinar when I was talking about the general criteria from the HBS admissions website, first off, they're looking for students who find it will be a transformative experience. So HBS will be helping to shape you, and I think that's okay, and that's actually desired. How can HBS make you CTO of a company? Siram from Bangalore. So HBS, I think, will give you general management education. It will create a network where you can meet many different people that will help you move your career forward, and therefore will help you move through management in the IT function. This would probably be a 20-year space between an HBS graduation and becoming a CTO. So there are many paths that could lead to that result, but I think HBS could help accelerate or position you for that career path. Okay, and Mohit says that he's not able to hear anything. Bonnie, if you want to chat with Mohit. And Akhilesh from Hyderabad also can't hear. All right, Karthik Varma, how important are the recommendation letters? Who are the people to get the recommendation letters from? So I would say recommendation letters are important, maybe pretty close to the essays. I would say they're an important element in a mix of 5 or 6 big things that the admissions committee is looking at, those things being your undergraduate experience, your professional experience, your test scores, your interview, your essays, your recommendations. There's 6 things. So they're one of those 6 elements, which if I just took them at 1/6, that would be about 16% weighting. That's reasonably important. They may be a little bit less than that, probably not a little bit more, but you get the idea of that it's a pretty sizable segment. Who to get the recommendations from? I would say people that are mentors or managers who know you well that can attest to your aptitude for a program like this, that can envision how the program would help enhance and accelerate your career trajectory. Okay, looks like Bonnie helped. A couple folks said they can hear. And Arun from India, a specific question regarding age. Arun is 33, works in private equity operations. He also works with a think tank. Published papers. Will the age count against him? Is the profile typical or atypical? Arun, you probably would be towards the older end of the class, which actually may help you because they are trying to put together a diverse student body, and there probably won't be many applicants in their early 30s. The common age range is probably in the mid-20s, so I think you're in a reasonable within range. You probably won't be the oldest student if you get admitted at the age of 33. All right. Paramveer is pursuing an MBA. He wants to know which areas are best for sales jobs in companies like retail, some manufacturing, some other. So Paramveer, send another chat. I don't know what you mean by areas. You're talking about geography? You're talking about industries? Okay, Rajat. Is age any criteria? For example, they would want students to be aged around the median age of the batch of less than 30 years old. I think it's also a function of the age that students apply. So I don't think that the school is screening on age or counting that as a criteria in the admissions. I think the age range, there's a normal bell curve that centers around 26, is probably because students that are much older in, say, late 30s, early 40s, would probably be more inclined to apply for the executive education program rather than an MBA and not take 2 years off. Students that are much younger, that are recent graduates from undergraduate university, have not really had an opportunity to build the career experiences that are important. So I think that's really what's centering the age distribution around the mid to late 20s. Arun has worked as an engineer in his past job. I think that's good experience, Arun. In my personal experience in business, I value engineering background. Matthew, what are some activities you would recommend participating in to increase your chances for candidacy? So extracurricular activities, community organizations, find something that you're passionate about. Don't make it only something that would only be a labor of difficulty to increase your application chances. But if it's something that you can enjoy, that sparks a passion in you, a labor of love, so to speak. For example, I was thinking about how I could increase my engagement in the community, and I coached a high school baseball team for several years. That helped me to also learn about the community where I was living at the time. I was living in Hawaii and got to experience some of the local culture there as somebody that didn't grow up in that area of the U.S. So that was something that I was interested in. Akilesh asks about the social scene at HBS. I would say that there's an active social scene there. It's a really great way to network with people and to build relationships, and also to enjoy your 2 years that you're taking off from your career path. Harish from Bangalore. How does a 3-year full-time internship at Deloitte in audit and assurance, part of the CA course, be looked at from an experience standpoint? I think Deloitte is a reputable company. I'm not familiar with the 3-year internship program. That seems unusual with that 3 years full-time to be an intern, but I think the experience in Deloitte and moving to getting a certified accountant status is a good idea. Rajaram, what is the average work experience of students? Is it likely that you'll get a reject if you apply with just 2 or 3 years? No, I think 2 or 3 years is fairly typical. So if you remember, we were talking about the distribution of ages, just speaking mathematically, if it's centering in the mid to late 20s, and it must start at 21 or 22, unless you have somebody that's really following an accelerated educational path, then there's going to be a somewhat of a more extended tail out towards folks that are attending through their 30s and maybe later. So you're going to find a primary center of that distribution of ages right around the 2 or 3 years of experience. I had 6 years of experience, and I was older than the average or median student. My voice was better without the camera. Turn the camera off. Okay. Yeah, I have the phone going just to try to mitigate the internet. Bonnie, I'll let you weigh in on how you want me to deal with the phone and the camera. How can I prepare for Boston Consulting Group, BCG, interview for placements? So I think Bonnie has a great program here to help prepare for consulting placements. I had a job offer from Boston Consulting Group before I went to McKinsey. The case study interview is absolutely essential, and I would say finding materials on management consulting case study interviews, practicing using those materials, getting with experts such as those that Bonnie will put you in touch with are critical. Right. How does undergraduate school reputation affect overall chances? I think that the undergraduate school reputation is an important element. It's not the only element. The school is looking for a diverse mix, so it doesn't want everyone from the same undergraduate path, but I think coming from a strong, reputable undergraduate program would be better than not. How does HBS support startups, financing, and developing the idea? So that's something that's really evolved since I left. I went a year or two ago to my 5-year reunion, and they were talking about the different things that they're doing to try to incubate entrepreneurship at business school. And there are many different business competitions now. It's something that most students are, if not all the students, are expected to participate in. And if your idea and your pitch wins in the competition, the school is providing finance. They also have a center that supports the development of ideas where you can consult with folks that have successful experience in the startup space. Is international experience necessary to get into Harvard? I would say it is not, but it's something that's helpful. The school places quite a value on students having an international education experience by being at business school. Does HBS consider master's degree through a distance learning program valid if it adds value to your current work domain? I would say so. I don't think that a master's degree is necessary or expected to get into the MBA program. So if your distance degree is adding value to your career, then I think that kind of indirect benefit is the key criteria that would be relevant. What's the most unique part of my experience at HBS? Well, I came from the military, so I didn't have business experience. I had less of the financial education. So for me, that was a unique experience. For the students there was that background that I had was something that was unique to them. So I guess that the question has many different layers of how you could look at it, but it really would be more personal to me. To HBS, does recommendation from a non-government organization head mean that the applicant is a prospective social sector guy? I have the same story, but marketing is my interest. So I think that if you have a background in NGO, non-governmental organizations, in the nonprofit or public sector, and you're interested in moving into private sector marketing, HBS would provide a powerful transformational experience. That's what the school is trying to do. It wants students that are going to feel transformed and be transformed by their MBA education, and I think that's a compelling story. You can position your application that way. What profile elements should I highlight in my application essays? This is from Karthik Varma. No, I'm sorry. This is from Ranji Amit. What profile elements should I highlight? Ranj, could you send that with some more clarification of what do you mean by profile elements? I'm going to answer what I think you mean, and if it's wrong, just send a follow-up question. I think by profile elements, we mean what different things in our application, education, career experiences, and so forth. I would highlight the things that you are passionate about. Being genuine, I think, is extremely important. It's going to resonate throughout the process, beginning with the essays, following through to the interviews. I think it will also communicate more effectively if it's something that's important to you and about which that you are passionate. I would also look at those criteria that HBS is talking about, the habit of leadership, showing those leadership experiences. I think the essays are a great way to do that. Can I talk about the alumni network and how active it is. I used to live in New York City, and there the alumni network was very active. I'm outside of the city now, but I still find HBS alumni to be very helpful for career development, and I would say that I find the alumni network to be pretty active. Akhilesh Sharma from Hyderabad. If I would time travel back in time, would I still choose HBS over other schools? Which other schools did I consider when I started the MBA in 2005? So I would still choose HBS. I believe it's a distinctive MBA program. I believe the alumni are unmatched. I also considered Wharton, MIT, and Stanford. I would say that the career path which I've cultivated over the past several years is focused on operational excellence and process excellence, and MIT Sloan has a distinctive program in those areas, but the general management and leadership program at HBS I think has prepared me well, and I still believe I would choose HBS. Does a recommendation from college stating your contribution to the college community after graduating help? So this is from Rajat from Bangalore. I would say the recommendation about continuing with your involvement with college would help. Whether you actually want to use one of your recommendations that way, or if you want to emphasize it on your CV or in your essays, there are many ways to communicate that engagement. But I do think overall, yes, communicate your post-college engagements and community contributions. Communicate those contributions, and if the best way to do it through a recommendation letter, then do that. Okay, Varun says he's from a technology background, wishes to switch to private equity. Is that really possible via HBS? What preparation does he do prior to applying and during the MBA to strengthen those chances? So Varun, I think the way that I would do it if I were you, coming from the technology background, I would apply to HBS. I would focus on the summer internship. I would try to do something in the financial services, such as investment banking, that would also capitalize on the technology experience, such as covering a technology sector for an investment bank over the summer. And then post-business school, either I think I would pursue 2 career paths during my second year of business school, trying to do job applications for private equity companies. I think venture capital with a technology background would also be a smart idea, or getting in maybe another couple years in the investment banking industry to show the private equity guys that you're capable and building relevant financial experience. Does HBS provide any specialized courses in the field of digital marketing? So I would check their website. If they had their electives listed there, that would be a better way than for me to answer that, but I would be very surprised if they did not. So I would answer your question yes, with the caveat that I am graduating from HBS 5 years ago. If you had graduated from your college 5 years ago and I asked you what coursework your college offers now, you probably wouldn't know, and that's the same case with me, but I would imagine that they do. Karthik has not done any social work till now. How to compensate? So if you can join some sort of organization, get involved in the community, I think it would make sense. If you did that in college, you could go back to that experience as well. Robert Shang from Boston. Do HBS students have an opportunity to participate in an exchange program in Europe or Asia? The HBS website mentions cross-registration at MIT and Tufts. So I don't believe there's an exchange program where you would say go for an entire semester, but the HBS experience does now offer abroad student enrichments, which you should look at on the website. So you would not be taking coursework at, say, an international school like INSEAD or the London School of Economics or something like that. but you would get some international experience in these programs that they have, which actually they're new programs the past several years. They weren't around when I was there. Okay, so it looks like the fellow that had trouble with the hearing, since I turned on the video, he's been able to get on the phone. And keeping in mind we just have about 5 minutes left, so I'm trying to go through the questions fast. Is there any penalty for applying twice if your previous application didn't get you an admission from Rajat from Bangalore? Rajat, to be honest with you, I have no idea of how they would deal with that. It would seem, I don't know that there would necessarily be a penalty, but if the school assessed you once, it would seem like they've learned something. However, they are building this composition of the class each year, so maybe you would be able to bring something into a future class if you didn't get into the first time you applied. But I don't know how heavily it would weigh against you, if at all. Okay, Niraj needs a written answer to this, so I think that's fine. I'll type something up so he can get his answer, but I'll give it so everyone else hears. Oh, this was the question about the BTech MBA program, and I see we're recording. Maybe we can get the recording to Niraj, because I did answer that one already. How stringent are the daily academic requirements? Would it be possible to begin a startup during the term? This is from Arun. I think it would be possible, and it would actually fit into your academic program because of some of the requirements now. So I think the two things would blend together in a productive way. So while the academics are challenging, I believe that the startup, depending, of course, on how demanding it is and how far along you get with it, I think it would be something that I would recommend pursuing. Do my chances, from Varun, do my chances to get admitted increase if I work at a big name like Morgan Stanley versus a startup? So no, I don't think that one or the other would be beneficial. Most of the applicants most likely will be coming from big names schools. So if you're working in a startup, particularly if the startup is successful and generating results, I think it would have a lot of benefit to get that experience. How can a person improve? How a person can improve his or her decision-making quality from Paramveer? I would weigh your options with likely probabilities and outcomes. I would consult all available sources of information, and I would realize that no decision will ever be perfect. How important is it to visit the school before getting admission? Do people who visit the school have an edge? I don't think that it's particularly important. I didn't visit the school. I don't see why there would be an edge for that, or if the school would even know who visited or didn't visit. Do I have any general advice for the interview, from Jim? So Jim, I would try to war game that interview or rehearse it. I would get practice questions. I would think through your answers. I would try to think through the contingencies that way, but that's partially because that's how my mind works, but that's my general advice. Akhilesh, how competitive is the bidding process for course electives? So I think the process for the course electives actually can be somewhat competitive for things like that are taught by Michael Porter. That there's this bidding process where students can allocate a spend of their, I guess, elective decisions to which courses they want, and they can be pretty selective for those courses. Does founding a company in college and then moving on to a corporate career with valid reasons worth stating in the application? Rajat, if your company in college, I guess it depends on what you did, but if you think it demonstrates leadership, and just generally speaking, it sounds like it does, I think that would be something that would be worthwhile to share as your experience. All right. So we just have a couple minutes left. I'm going to answer one more question. Let's see, the technical engineering experience versus financial or marketing experience weigh more heavily as a criteria for admission. This is from Siram from Bangalore. I would say that because the school is trying to get a mix of experiences and a diverse student body, that both of those career paths would be equally valid, because they don't want all people from financial, they don't want all people from marketing, they don't want all people from engineering, but they do want a student body that reflects a blend of those backgrounds and many others. So I hope this was helpful. As you go through the application process, if you'd like to do a practice interview, please contact Bonnie. She has me and many other alumni who are available to do these interviews, and I hope to see you at a webinar in the future. And I would ask Bonnie to please get in touch with the fellow that asked about the B-Tech that couldn't hear the answer, because that was answered, so maybe we can just share the recording. All right, thanks everybody, and I turn over down to Bonnie for any closing comments.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Hello? Great. Thanks, Matt, for hosting this webinar. Thanks, everyone, for attending this webinar. Hope you found this useful. If you want to see this webinar again, we'll send a recorded link in next few days. If you need any help in your business school applications and interviews, please send an email to me at vani@interviewbay.com. I repeat, it is vani@interviewbay.com. Okay, great. Thanks, Matt, once again. See you all. Bye.